Hello everyone, I hope we're all having a phenomenal day and we're all doing well. So in this video, we are going to be taking a look into the lore around one of my favourite characters in the game, Thatcher. Now luckily, Thatcher is one of the operators who has had a lot of focus when it comes to lore in Rainbow Six Siege. He's not really had a lot of focus recently. The only major thing he's kind of known for now is being the most banned attacker in the game. But he is one of my personal favourite characters. I don't know if it's just because I'm British myself and I like a lot of the history around the SAS and the British Army. But we're going to be taking a look into Thatcher's lore, and hopefully I'll be explaining some stuff which you've never heard before or maybe didn't understand in the past, and where it seems like Thatcher wants his story to end. So Thatcher, whose real name is Mike Baker, seemingly gets the nickname Thatcher in a reference to the ex-British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. And it's pretty obvious why they'd done that. Margaret Thatcher was the Prime Minister of the UK during the Iranian Embassy siege which happened in London in the 80s, and that was known as Operation Nimrod. And a lot of you eagle-eyed players in the game may realise that Thatcher's elite skin is called Operation Nimrod, and it is actually based on this Iranian embassy siege which happened in real life. And this was the first time that the SAS was fully shown off to the eyes of the world, so this was a massive point in history, not only for the SAS but for counter-terrorism in general. And there's quite a famous picture which does show Margaret Thatcher with 3 SAS members back in the 80s, and a lot of people do believe that sort of in universe one of these members in this picture is Mike Baker. And I know Margaret Thatcher is quite a controversial figure in British history. I'm apolitical, I don't choose sides here, this is going to be non-biased, I'm just explaining the facts. So Mike was born in Bideford in England, and he came from a family of both soldiers and dock workers. And both of these two sides play a massive part into Thatcher's life. Obviously he is a soldier for the SAS and Team Rainbow, but also in his free time he works on and lives on a dry docked ship known as the Iron Maggie. Now the name of the ship, Iron Maggie, is once again another reference to Margaret Thatcher. She was known as the Iron Lady, and of course Maggie is a nickname for Margaret. It just goes to show that Margaret Thatcher, being the Prime Minister at that time, did have a massive influence on Mike, and he clearly did look up to her. And we do actually get to see the ship in the cinematic which he shares with Dokkaebi. I just find it really sweet that this is what Thatcher loves outside of his work. This is his home. There's actually a weapon skin that came out in a old battle pass for the AR-33 which was designed around this ship. And this was back when battle passes actually had lore pieces on the items as well. I have no idea why they removed that. Yubi, please bring the lore back to the battle passes. But it has a really nice quote alongside it, and it says the following: "When I walk away from the fields of battle, it will be time to put my guns into the ground. There shall I bury them, along with my rage." And now we know that he moved into the Iron Maggie temporarily when him and his wife divorced. We know this from Harry's board, but he seemingly stuck with it. It became his permanent home, and it's also his retirement plan. And he does still have a family around him. We do know that he has a brother called Polly Baker, which we do see in that same animation. But I do find it really nice that although he doesn't have a traditional house anymore, he doesn't have his wife, he still does have a family and home at Team Rainbow. And we do know from his psychological report that he is really close friends with Sledge, which would make sense. They were in the SAS together, and I'm glad that their friendship still continues. And Harry says he's actually surprised that Thatcher is quite tolerant of Mute, since he does seem to be quite impatient with younger people, and that is once again kind of highlighted in the hammer and scalpel animation, although the little arc between Thatcher and Dokkaebi does kind of come to the end when it comes to SI, when Cav and Thatcher are fighting and Dokkaebi saves Thatcher, showing that yeah, we may be different, we may have different methods, but we can still work together on the same team. But despite all this roughness that seems to come from Thatcher, Harry does say that he is a really nice down-to-earth guy. You just gotta work a little bit with him to gain his trust, but when he opens up, he is a really nice person. And we do know, once again highlighted in the hammer and scalpel animation, but in Harry's notes as well, that Thatcher does have not a disliking to technology, but he doesn't like when people use it as a crutch. Which makes a lot of sense. Not only does his gadget counter technology, but him as himself is more of a traditional older soldier. And you know, when he sees then Dokkaebi using her logic bombs and Echo using these flying disorienting drones, it is a massive difference to what he is usually used to. And I really like the part in the hammer and scalpel animation where he does pull out a knife and just says that this has no lag. There's no technology behind this, that it's not going to fail, it's a knife, it does what it needs to. Now we do actually know that Thatcher has fought in some other conflicts as well as the Iranian embassy siege, which we talked about at the beginning of this video. He fought in the Battle of Goose Green in the Falklands War between Britain and Argentina, and in the Gulf War under Bravo 20, which was the call sign of an 8-man SAS patrol deployed into Iraq during the first Gulf War in 1991. So, you know, Thatcher's been about a bit. It's no surprise that he has more conservative values. You know, it's pretty obvious what his political stance is. Of course, the fact that he looks up to Margaret Thatcher wasn't an obvious giveaway enough. And we do know that Thatcher and Clash have very different political views, and they clash on it a lot, no pun intended. So it is obvious that Thatcher does lean more to the right wing, where Clash leans more to the left. Now we did talk about earlier how Thatcher is quite good friends with Sledge. He is quite tolerant of Mute. Obviously we've seen the relationship he has grown with Dokkaebi, maybe, where they did have different opinions on how to do stuff, but in the end they did come together and work as a team and accept each other's methods. But there are some operators which he had a clear issue with. During a training exercise in 2018, Lion made a rather unsavory comment about Thatcher, and Thatcher doesn't take people's crap, and he punched Lion in the face. And this almost resulted in a fight between the SAS and the GIGN operators in Team Rainbow, but it seems like nothing ever came of that. It just goes to show that Thatcher isn't someone you mess with. And if you've seen my lore video talking about Lion, we know that he isn't the best at making friendships with people. Now, in current times where Nighthaven is actually cut off with Team Rainbow, it does seem like Thatcher actually was quite saddened and affected by the fact that Smoke actually left him. So not only were they part of Team Rainbow together, they were also in the SAS together. And so, still feeling quite hurt for this, he actually went with Jackal when both Azami and Hibana reached out to them to help track down the remaining assassins after Yahata's death. And if you guys actually want to read that comment, I'll leave a link to it in the description. It's a free online comic made by Ubisoft, and they actually illustrated it in the style of manga, so it's actually really cool. It's only a few pages long, but it is actually quite an interesting read, but we have talked about it before. But this comic book was the first time we actually seen that these assassins were using Nighthaven tech, and we do know recently that Nighthaven tech has been stolen, so we know Nighthaven are innocent, but it's just the fact that Thatcher was seemingly quite hurt by the fact that Smoke left, so he wanted to get the answers and make sure that Smoke isn't a criminal and part of this criminal organization. And for the most part, that's as far as his story goes. Now, we do know he is part of Hibana's unnamed squad. We're probably not going to learn for that for a good wee while, because we still have to learn about Redhammer, and I believe that's Thermite's squad. So Hibana's squad is going to be the last squad we learn about. So as it currently stands, Thatcher is still in the fight. Hopefully we learn more about him when Hibana's squad is focused on. But through all his battles, through all his time in the SAS and in Team Rainbow, he has served as a loyal soldier, sharing his knowledge, being quite hesitant of the new wave of tech and soldiers coming from it, but in the end, still showing that he is a valuable asset to the team. And until the day does come where he can settle down on the Iron Maggie and lay his weapon and rage into the ground, Thatcher will still be one of the best soldiers on Team Rainbow. And so guys, I hope you learned a few things about Thatcher in this video and why he is one of my favorite characters in the lore. I just really love how well written these characters are, to the point where they all deserve a single player game. Could you imagine a single player game where you play as Thatcher with the SAS? It'd be like Call of Duty with an even more hardened and skilled version of Captain Price, not to downplay Captain Price of course. So you guys, be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Who is your favorite operator in Siege lore? Would you like me to actually make more videos focusing on other operators? Maybe you might actually find a new favorite. Hope you guys have an incredible rest of your day. Be sure to subscribe if you did enjoy and drop a like on the video. I love you all. Stay safe. Peace.